Hi, my name is Carla Dunareanu from Level 3 Acting, and I will be playing Lydia.
Hello. So tell us about your character.
Alright, my character Lydia, she's one of 50 sisters, although you only actually see 3 on stage for majority of the show. At the end of the show, I'm sure you'll see more. And I think if you ever watch Powerpuff Girls, I am Blossom. I am like the sensible one, the one who just wants peace and harmony, and if they're bad guys, we want to get rid of the bad guys, but we're not going to actively cause trouble with people if we don't need to. So the 3 sisters are very different, and I am Blossom. I'm the red one.
Okay, so what are some of the difficulties that you have faced so far in terms of the creation of this character?
In the creation of this character, I think it was hard when we were doing Laban work, and this entire play, the characters were only allowed to be direct. Now, I'm not a very direct person. I'm very free and easy. I like to wander around and stroll. So I think that was really hard to get into my body, that even though I may ask a question to someone, it should sound more like a statement than a question. And I'm very used to reading the script how it is, so to have to interpret all the lines in a direct sense and to be so certain of what you're saying, even if you think it doesn't sound that way in the script, that's really hard. It's a very big challenge to always sound confident in what you're saying, even though you're sure that other people have a good point, but you never back down from your point. Yeah.
Okay, so how has the slam dance process been like for you?
How's this? Alright, I'll show you. I've got quite a lot of bruises. I don't know if you can see. I've got bruises all over my legs. There you go. And all over my elbows as well. Some are on my hips. It's interesting. I don't consider myself a dancer. I consider myself an actor who can move well, but not a dancer. So having to learn dance steps from Jean, who's one of the choreographers, Jean and Dan, it was very interesting to have to move my body in such vigorous ways, but you realize that that's what you need in a slam dance. You need to completely exhaust yourself in the 5 minutes that we have on stage.
Okay, so tell us about your character's relationship with your sisters, Diana and Olympia.
Alright. Olympia, I would consider her like my baby sister. I think I'm very protective over her. I'm very physical with my sisters. I love to express my emotions towards them. I like hugging them. I like physical contact with them. And that's Lydia in general as a person. Towards Diona, she realizes that Diona's very stubborn and very headstrong. And a lot of the times she just tries to brush off what Diona says as just being Diona. You know, she's just got a grudge against everything, and Lydia tries her best just to ignore it and let it go and laugh it off and say, oh, it's just Diona. But as you can see, in this play, it comes to a point where their relationship is really tested, and whether or not their blood bond can withstand a man coming into their life.
So how does Lydia really feel towards the 3 brothers, especially Nikos, who's engaged to her?
This is my take on it. I think they met a long time ago when they were probably really young, about 10, 11. We all used to go swimming on the beach or something, and our families all came together. And I think Nikos was always this really geeky guy who would be really nice to her, but she wasn't very interested. It was like, ew, he's so geeky. I don't want a geeky guy, I want a cool guy. And Constantine was a cool guy, but he was also like the bully on the playground who used to push kids over. That's what I think. So I don't think she's really got a grudge against any of the boys, especially Ed. Ed keeps to himself most of the time. I think it's only when Lydia's pushed into a corner that's when she gets very defensive. But other than that, I don't think Lydia actively goes out to pick a fight with any of the boys. If anything, she finds Nikos very flattering. He's very sweet towards her. He really treats her like a lady, and she doesn't want to like it, but she actually does. She just doesn't want to tell any of her sisters that.
Okay, so how do you think Lydia feels about her father, who signed the wedding contract to give the sisters and marry her off to Nikos?
I think I think Lydia is very hurt by it. I don't think she's angry at her father. Lydia, I don't see her as a very hateful person. I don't think she has any grudges against anybody. She takes it as it comes. If it doesn't work out, she's easy to get over problems. But I suppose when her dad made the decision to willingly let the daughters go and say, you have to get married to your cousins, I think she felt very betrayed that her own father would somewhat give them away. And even though you never see any of the sisters, the parents, you don't see the mom or the dad on stage, it was individually up to ourselves to come up with a backstory of what we thought of them. And I think Lydia is very close to her mother. She's a very woman's girl. She likes doing girly things, but she's not like a wimp. She's not a sissy. But at the same time, she hasn't had much contact with her father, simply because of the fact that her father had said, okay, you know what, you're going to get married, that's it. And I think from there, Lydia shut off from men, and she doesn't get much male companionship, and she doesn't have many male friends, clearly.
Okay, so although she is kind of adverse to the idea of the arranged marriage, she seemed to form a connection with Nikos later on in the play. So what do you think Lydia's stance is regarding this whole affair?
I think Lydia, she's not a hopeless romantic, but she would like romance. If it came along, I think she would take it in a second. And I think a lot of girls would, if they were presented an opportunity with a guy who honestly said, I don't know if I can give you everything, but I will try my best. And I think she loves it. She sees something in Nikos that she hasn't seen in a male figure in a very long time. And I think that's very appealing to her, that, you know, he may not be the strongest of guys, he's not Constantine, but he's very good to her. He treats her like a woman, he gives her respect, and I think that's why eventually she succumbs to it and she says, you know what, if I have to get married, I'm happy I'm marrying you and not any one of your brothers. So she's pretty happy about it. I think she got the best deal out of everyone.
Okay, so scene 13 is directed by Adeline, who's the assistant director.
Yes.
So how does her directing style differ from Adam? And how has the process been like for you?
How is her directing style? I don't see much of a difference, simply because we were only given actions to play. There was no backstory. There was no emotional content that we had to fill. That was on our own part. So she gave us directorial notes, so as to, while we're sitting there, only face the front and put on our makeup. And it's not as easy as it looks. It's very hard to put on makeup when you can't see what you're doing to your face. So yeah, it was interesting, maybe because we had to do it in a very stylistic way. We weren't allowed to be sloppy in putting on our makeup. It had to look as though we were putting on war paint, even though we were only putting on foundation on our face. And likewise for the mascara or the lipstick or the blusher, it had to be very precise and very, very deliberate in the circles that we make on our face. It's not I'm rushing to go for a party, it's I'm getting ready for war. So it was very interesting. It was like taking two very completely different ideas and putting them in the same scene and having to work against each of them, and that was really interesting, the product that you get from it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.